welcome. My name is Michelle Eaton, and I'm Vice President of Public Affairs at the Ontario Chamber of Commerce. I'm so delighted to be here today on behalf of the Oakville Chamber of Commerce to have an in-conversation with Kaniz Mouli, the Liberal candidate for Oakville North-Burlington. Now, before we get started, I just want to say a heartfelt appreciation for all of the tremendous leadership from the Oakville Chamber of Commerce. On behalf of their community and businesses throughout the pandemic, they do terrific work. So if you're not a member of the Chamber, you should join. Now, to kick things off, thank you so much for joining us here today, Kaniz. Please just listen, tell me a little bit more about you. Tell me about what got you into politics. This is your chance for our viewers to really understand what drives you and who you are as a person.
Thank you, Michelle, for the opportunity to talk today. Hello, everyone. My name is Kaniz Mouli, and I am the Liberal candidate for Oakville North-Burlington. So just to say a little bit about myself, I come to this with about a decade of experience working in public and private sector. I currently work at Bay Street in the financial services sector, and prior to that, I actually worked with Ontario government as a public servant and also as an advisor to cabinet ministers at Queen's Park. So I definitely understand how government works. But these days, my most important job is being a mom to my 18-month-old son, Zane, who was born at Oakville Trafalgar Hospital in 2020. So I live in Palermo neighborhood in Oakville, where my husband Daniel and we are raising our son Zane, and our goal is to raise him in our community. And that's one of the reasons why I really decided to put my name forward. I'm worried about future generations, and I want to set them up for success. And also, as someone who lives in the community, I go through the same challenges that you all go through. And my goal is to be a local champion, someone who's accessible for everybody in the community and who can champion their issues at Queen's Park.
Thank you so much, and it's so great to get to know you more. Now, could you tell us a little bit more about your party's platform?
Certainly, Michelle, and thank you so much for the question as well. Ontario Liberal Party really understands that, we have had two tough, challenging years as we have gone through the pandemic, and our platform is really based on making sure that we get out of the pandemic okay. So that includes more investment in education, more investment in healthcare, making sure we are set up for jobs and the economy of future, and also making sure that we are focusing on climate change and making sure our future generations are ready to succeed.
That's great. Thank you so much. And so for the folks that are turned in are going to be looking to vote on June 2nd, let's get a little bit more granular. Talk about your priorities for this riding. What is it you're hearing at the doors? What are the things that you want to see for the future of this riding?
Thank you so much for the question, Michelle. So our community in North Oakville and North Burlington, there's lots of young families. And one of the key questions that comes up time and time again, everyone have their kids in the education system. And education to me is not just social policy, but it's also economic policy. The investment that we put in education really set up the next generation for success. Good education is the best tool we have to provide a stronger and more prosperous Ontario. And as someone who is the mother of a young child, I want Ontario to have a world-class public education system. So if elected, Ontario government will spend an Ontario Liberal government will spend $10 billion into education, but what we'll also do is cancel Highway 413, a highway that no one wants, and put that money back into education to help our children. Hire about 10,000 teachers and cap class sizes at 20 students. We're also going to reinstate grade 13 to give students a chance to catch up. We're also going to end mandatory learning, hire about 5,000 special education workers, and we'll also make sure, especially going through the pandemic, there has been so much challenges when it comes to healthcare. We'll make sure we hire about 1,000 mental health workers so that our kids are ready to serve our future. And that's just from an education perspective. If I talk about healthcare, Of course, with COVID, we all know that we have gone through lots of challenges just from a healthcare perspective as well. And we really deserve a healthcare system that we can count on, especially when we need it. If elected, we will train and hire 100,000 nurses, doctors, and other health workers over the next 6 years. And we know that there has been a whole backlog when it comes to surgeries. We'll clear the surgical backlog with a $1 billion investment so that we can have additional capacities. And also ensure that everyone has access to a doctor or nurse within 24 hours.
Thank you so much, and most certainly over the last couple of years at the Ontario Chamber of Commerce, we've heard from so many businesses, and we've tried to help out where we can. And one of the things that we recognize is that you can't have a strong business community without a resilient healthcare system. So thanks for sharing some of those things that you'll do if elected. Now, speaking of business, the pandemic has been quite devastating for a number of different sectors. Could you talk a bit about what your party would do if elected to support businesses both big and small in the community?
Thank you so much for the question, Michelle. And there's no question that the pandemic has really hurt businesses. I know under Doug Ford, Ontario hasn't really been open for business. The pandemic has been devastating, especially for many small businesses. For example, where I have my campaign office, it used to be a former dry cleaner that closed because of the pandemic. So we get that awareness every day that there are businesses closing on a day-to-day basis because of what happened in the pandemic. And small businesses are really fundamental to our local economies and businesses in general. So what we will do, we'll make sure that we'll eliminate corporate taxes for small businesses that are hurt deeply by the pandemic. We'll also provide loans and support services to businesses and help them to really go digital, because we know, as we are in a digital economy now, so many businesses have to move forward to the digital economy. Make investment in hard-hit industries like tourism, music, culture, and sports. And we're also going to make sure we eliminate HST on prepared foods under $20, and that will be a big boost to our local restaurants, to local businesses, and businesses in general. Will allow everyone to go out and eat out without paying HST.
Thanks so much. And there's still, when you think about tourism, hospitality, there's a number of sectors that are just starting to get the wheels in motion to recover from what's all happened throughout the pandemic. So thank you for sharing those things that you would do if elected as a government. Now, affordability. This is something that continues to come up in polls, talking about the election. Affordability is an issue top of mind for most voters right now. How would your party address the issue of affordability if elected?
Thank you so much for the question. I think there is no question that we are facing an affordability crisis, and people are finding it harder and harder to get by. I mean, many of us are lucky in North Oakville and North-Burlington that we might have the house, but I worry as the mother of a young child that would Zane be able to afford a home for himself 18, 20 years down the road. So for me, I will fight for an Ontario where current and future generation who work hard have a chance to succeed, and our party has a plan to help people with affordability. First of all, I know there are a lot of GO train commuters in this riding. We will cut all transit fares to buck a ride, saving commuters hundreds of dollars. And that includes people who take the GO train in our community. As I talked about, we'll also remove HST for any prepared food under $20. So that'll make it easier on businesses, but also help us to eat out more often. We'll work with the federal government to deliver $10 a day childcare and bring in a plan to make housing more affordable for the next generation. Our plan includes building 1.5 million more homes, but making sure we're also taking into consideration the environmental impact of things. So having a balance between building homes, but also making sure we're protecting our green belt. So what we also talked about is, if elected, we'll be building homes in places where they're already zoned for building, but we'll also protect the green belt where additional 30% will increase the amount of greenbelt, protected greenbelt, from 10% to 30%, so that there is a balance between building homes but also protecting climate change.
Thanks so much. And housing is certainly something that we've been hearing a lot about in the news as of late. So finally, here's your opportunity to give your last message or to the vote or to the people that are watching today. So if you have some final closing words, feel free to share.
First of all, thank you so much, Michelle, and Oakville Chamber of Commerce for the opportunity to come out and speak today. As I have said, I'm a young mother who lives in the community. My husband Daniel and I, we are raising our son Zane, who lives in this community, and I go through the same issues that everyone goes through in the community, and that's why I plan to be an effective and true champion for our community. I live here, I'll listen to the concerns of my constituents, but also as a community, we have gone through, education, healthcare. One thing I didn't talk about was, of course, long-term care. Our seniors need to live in dignity as well, and Ontario government, if our Ontario Liberal government got elected, we'll make sure we'll put an end to long-term, to for-profit long-term care as well. And I will really fight for an Ontario where current and future generations that work hard have a chance to succeed. So I plan on becoming a local champion that is there to listen to your issues, that is there to champion what we are hearing on the ground. And I do that because I have a decade of experience working at public sector, private sector. I have seen things through different lenses, and I'm hoping that I can bring that back and I can effectively problem solve for our community to become a champion at Queen's Park. Thank you.
Thanks so much, folks. That was Kaniz Mouli, the Liberal candidate for Oakville North-Burlington. Thank you for the conversation today. I'd like to thank your TV and the Oakville Chamber of Commerce for putting today's discussion together, and have a great evening.